Letter 32 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. Letter 32. Mr. Lovelace to John Belford, Esquire, Thursday night. Confoundedly out of humour with this perverse woman, nor wilt thou blame me if thou art my friend. She regards the concession she made as a concession extorted from her, and we are but just where we were before she made it. With great difficulty I prevailed upon her to favour me with her company for 1/2 hour this evening. The necessity I was under to go down to M. Hall was the subject I wanted to talk upon. I told her that as she had been so good as to promise that she would endeavour to make herself easy till she saw the Thursday Inn next week over, I hoped that she would not scruple to oblige me with her word that I should find her here at my return from M. Hall. Indeed, she would make no such promise. Nothing of this house was mentioned to me, said she. You know it was not. And do you think that I would have given my consent to my imprisonment in it? I was plaguily nettled and disappointed too. If I go not down to M. Hall, madam, you'll have no scruple to stay here, I suppose, till Thursday is over. If I cannot help myself, I must. But I insist upon being permitted to go out of this house, whether you leave it or not. Well, madam, then I will comply with your commands, and I will go out this very evening in quest of lodgings that you shall have no objections to. I will have no lodgings of your providing, sir. I will go to Mrs. Moore's at Hampstead. Mrs. Moore's, madam! I have no objection to Mrs. Moore's. But will you give me your promise to admit me there to your presence, as I do here when I cannot help it? Very well, madam. Will you be so good as to let me know what you intend by your promise to make yourself easy? To endeavour, sir, to make myself easy were the words, till you saw what next Thursday would produce. Ask me no questions that may ensnare me. I am too sincere for the company I am in. Let me ask you, madam, what meant you when you said that, were it not a sin, you would die before you gave me that assurance? She was indignantly silent. You thought, madam, you had given me room to hope your pardon by it? When I think I ought to answer you with patience, I will speak. Do you think yourself in my power, madam? If I were not— And there she stopped. Dearest creature, speak out. I beseech you, dearest creature, speak out. She was silent, her charming face all in a glow. Have you, madam, any reliance upon my honour? Still silent. You hate me, madam. You despise me more than you do the most odious of God's creatures. You ought to despise me if I did not. You say, madam, you are in a bad house. You have no reliance upon my honour. You believe you cannot avoid me. She arose. I beseech you, let me withdraw. I snatched her hand, rising, and pressed it first to my lips and then to my heart in wild disorder. She might have felt the bounding mischief ready to burst its bars. "You shall go to your own apartment, if you please, but, by the great God of heaven, I will accompany you thither." She trembled. "Pray, pray, Mr. Lovelace, don't terrify me so." "Be seated, madam. I beseech you, be seated. I will sit down." "Do then." All my soul is in my eyes, and my heart's blood throbbing at my fingers' ends. "I will, I will. You hurt me. Pray, Mr. Lovelace, don't frighten me so." And down she sat trembling, my hand still grasping hers. I hung over her throbbing bosom, and putting my other arm round her waist. "And you say you hate me, madam, and you say you despise me, and you say you promise me nothing." "Yes, yes, I did promise you. Let me not be held down thus. You see I sat down when you bid me. Why," struggling, "need you hold me down thus? I did promise to endeavour to be easy till Thursday was over. But you won't let me. How can I be easy? Pray let me not be thus terrified." "And what, madam, meant you by your promise? Did you mean anything in my favour?" "You designed that I should at that time think you did." "Did you mean anything in my favour, madam? Did you intend that I should think you did?" "Let go my hand, sir. Take away your arm from about me," struggling yet trembling. "Why do you gaze upon me so?" "Answer me, madam. Did you mean anything in my favour by your promise? Let me be not thus constrained to answer." Then pausing, and gaining more spirit, "Let me go," said she. "I am but a woman, but a weak woman. But my life is in my own power, though my person is not. I will not be thus constrained." "You shall not, madam," quitting her hand, bowing. But my heart is at my mouth, and hoping farther provocation. She arose, and was hurrying away. "I pursue you not, madam. I will try your generosity." "Stop! Return this moment! Stop! Return, if, madam, you would not make me desperate." She stopped at the door, burst into tears. "O Lovelace, how have I deserved—" "Be pleased, dearest angel, to return." She came back, but with declared reluctance, and imputing her compliance to terror. Terror, Jack, as I have heretofore found out, though I have so little benefited by the discovery, must be my resort, if she make it necessary. Nothing else will do with the inflexible charmer. She seated herself over against me, extremely discomposed, but indignation had a visible predominance in her features. I was going towards her with a countenance intendedly changed to love and softness. "Sweetest, dearest angel," were my words, in the tenderest accent. But rising up, she insisted upon my being seated at a distance from her. I obeyed, and begged her hand over the table to my extended hand, to see if in any thing she would oblige me. But nothing gentle, soft, or affectionate would do. She refused me her hand. Was she wise, Jack, to confirm to me that nothing but terror would do? Let me only know, madam, if your promise to endeavour to wait with patience the event of next Thursday meant me favour. Do you expect any voluntary favour from one to whom you give not a free choice? Do you intend, madam, to honour me with your hand in your uncle's presence, or do you not? My heart and my hand shall never be separated. Why, think you, did I stand in opposition to the will of my best, my natural friends? I know what you mean, madam. Am I then as hateful to you as the vile Solmes? Ask me not such a question, Mr. Lovelace. I must be answered. Am I as hateful to you as the vile Solmes? Why do you call Mr. Solmes vile? Don't you think him so, madam? Why should I? Did Mr. Solmes ever do vilely by me? Dearest creature, don't distract me by hateful comparisons, and perhaps by a more hateful preference. Don't you, sir, put questions to me that you know I will answer truly, though my answer were ever so much to enrage you. My heart, madam, my soul is all yours at present. But you must give me hope that your promise in your own construction binds you, no new cause to the contrary, to be mine on Thursday. How else can I leave you? Let me go to Hampstead and trust to my favour. May I trust to it? Say only, may I trust to it? How will you trust to it if you extort an answer to this question? Say only, dearest creature, say only, may I trust to your favour if you go to Hampstead? How dare you, sir, if I must speak out, expect a promise of favour from me? What a mean creature must you think me, after the ungrateful baseness to me, were I to give you such a promise? Then, standing up, thou hast made me, O vilest of men, her hands clasped, and a face crimsoned with indignation, an inmate of the vilest of houses. Nevertheless, while I am in it, I shall have a heart incapable of anything but abhorrence of that and thee. And round her looked the angel, and upon me, with fear in her sweet aspect of the consequence of her free declaration. But what a devil must I have been, I who love bravery in a man, had I not been more struck with admiration of her fortitude at the instant than stimulated by revenge. Noblest of creatures! And do you think I can leave you and my interest in such an excellence precarious? No promise, no hope. If you make me not desperate, may lightning blast me, if I do you not all the justice 'tis in my power to do you. If you have any intention to oblige me, leave me at my own liberty, and let me not be detained in this abominable house, to be constrained as I have been constrained, to be stopped by your vile agents, to be brought up by force and be bruised in my own defence against such illegal violence. I dare to die, Lovelace, and she who fears not death is not to be intimidated into a meanness unworthy of her heart and principles. Wonderful creature! But why, madam, did you lead me to hope for something favourable for next Thursday? Once more, make me not desperate. With all your magnanimity, glorious creature, I was more than half frantic, Belford. You may, but do not make me brutally threaten you. Do not make me desperate. My aspect, I believe, threatened still more than my words. I was rising. She rose. Mr. Lovelace, be pacified. You are even more dreadful than the Lovelace I have long dreaded. Let me retire. I ask your leave to retire. You really frighten me. Yet I give you no hope. From my heart say not, madam, you abhor me. You must for your own sake conceal your hatred, at least not avow it. I seized her hand. Let me retire, said she, in a manner out of breath. I will only say, madam, that I refer myself to your generosity. My heart is not to be trusted at this instant. As a mark of my submission to your will, you shall, if you please, withdraw. But I will not go to M. Hall. Live or die, my Lord M. I will not go to M. Hall, but will attend the effect of your promise. Remember, madam, you have promised to endeavour to make yourself easy till you see the event of next Thursday. Next Thursday, remember, your uncle comes up to see us married. That's the event. You think ill of your Lovelace. Do not, madam, suffer your own morals to be degraded by the infection, as you called it, of his example. Away flew the charmer with this half permission, and no doubt thought that she had an escape, nor without reason. I knew not for half an hour what to do with myself, vexed at the heart nevertheless, now she was from me, and when I reflected upon her hatred of me, and her defiances, that I suffered myself to be so overawed, checked, restrained. And now I have written thus far, have, of course, recollected the whole of our conversation, I am more and more incensed against myself. But I will go down to these women, and perhaps suffer myself to be laughed at by them. Devil fetch them, they pretend to know their own sex. Sally was a woman well educated, Polly also. Both have read, both have sense, of parentage not mean, once modest both, still, they say, had been modest but for me. Not entirely indelicate now, though too little nice for my personal intimacy, loath as they both are to have me think so. The old one, too, a woman of family, though thus from bad inclination, as well as at first from low circumstances, miserably sunk, and hence they all pretend to remember what once they were, and vouch for the inclinations and hypocrisy of the whole sex, and wish for nothing so ardently as that I will leave the perverse lady to their management while I am gone to Berkshire, undertaking absolutely for her humility and passiveness on my return, and continually boasting of the many perverse creatures whom they have obliged to draw in their traces. I am just come from the sorceresses. I was forced to take the mother down, for she began with her "Ho, sir!" with me, and to catechize and upbraid me with as much insolence as if I owed her money. I made her fly the pit at last. Strange wishes wished we against each other at her quitting it. What were they? I'll tell thee. She wished me married, and to be jealous of my wife, and my heir apparent, the child of another man. I was even with her with a vengeance. And yet thou wilt think that could not well be. As how? As how, Jack? Why, I wished for her conscience come to life, and I know by the gripes mine gives me every half hour that she would then have a cursed time of it. Sally and Polly gave themselves high airs too. Their first favours were thrown at me, women to boast of those favours which they were as willing to impart. First forms all the difficulty with them, as I do receive. I was upbraided with ingratitude, dastardized, and all my difficulties with my angel charged upon myself, for want of following my blows, and for leaving the proud lady mistress of her own will, and nothing to reproach herself with. And all agreed that the arts used against her on a certain occasion had too high an operation for them or me to judge what her will would have been in the arduous trial. And then they blamed one another, as I cursed them all. They concluded that I should certainly marry and be a lost man, and Sally on this occasion, with an affected and malicious laugh, snapped her fingers at me, and pointing two of each hand forkedly at me, bid me remember the lines I once showed her of my favourite Jack Dryden, as she always familiarly calls that celebrated poet. We women to new joys unseen may move. There are no prints left in the path of love. All goods besides by public marks are known, but those men most desire to keep have none. This infernal implement had the confidence further to hint that, when a wife, some other man would not find half the difficulty with my angel that I had found. Confidence indeed! But yet I must say, if a man gives himself up to the company of these devils, they never let him rest till he either suspects or hate his wife. But a word or two of other matters, if possible. Methinks I long to know how causes go at M. Hall. I have another private intimation that the old peer is in the greatest danger. I must go down. Yet what to do with this lady the meanwhile? These cursed women are full of cruelty and enterprise. She will never be easy with them in my absence. They will have provocation and pretence therefore. But woe be to them if— Yet what will vengeance do after an insult committed? The two nymphs will have jealous rage to goad them on, and what will withhold a jealous and already ruined woman? to let her go elsewhere, that cannot be done. I am still too resolved to be honest if she'll give me hope, if yet she'll let me be honest. But I'll see how she'll be after the contention she will certainly have between her resentment and the terror she has reason for from our last conversation. So let this subject rest till the morning, and to the old pier once more. I shall have a good deal of trouble, I reckon, though no sordid man, to be decent on the expected occasion. Then how to act, I who am no hypocrite, in the days of condolement? What farce have I to go through, and to be the principal actor in them? I'll try to think of my own latter end, a grey beard and a graceless air, in order to make me serious. Thou, Belford, knowest a good deal of this sort of grimace, and canst help a gay heart to a little of the dismal. But then every feature of thy face is cut out for it. My heart may be touched perhaps sooner than thine, for, believe me or not, I have a very tender one. But then no man looking into my face, be the occasion for grief ever so great, will believe that heart to be deeply distressed. All is placid, easy, serene in my countenance. Sorrow cannot sit half an hour together upon it. Nay, I believe that Lord M.'s recovery, should it happen, would not affect me above a quarter of an hour. Only the new scenery, and the pleasure of aping an Heraclitus to the family, while I am a Democritus among my private friends, or I want nothing that the old peer can leave me. Wherefore then should grief sadden and distort such blithe, such jocund features as mine? But as for thine, were there murder committed in the street, and thou wert but passing by, the murderer even in sight, the pursuers would quit him, and lay hold of thee, and thy very looks would hang, as well as apprehend thee. But one word to business, Jack. Whom dealest thou with for thy blacks? Wert thou well used? I shall want a plaguy parcel of them, for I intend to make every soul of the family mourn. Outside, if not in. End of Letter 32. Letter 33 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. Letter 33. Mr. Lovelace, to John Belford, Esquire, June 23rd, Friday morning. I went out early this morning, on a design that I know not yet whether I shall or shall not pursue, and on my return found Simon Parsons, my lord's Berkshire bailiff, just before arrived, awaiting for me with a message in form, sent by all the family, to press me to go down, and that at my lord's particular desire, who wants to see me before he dies. Simon has brought my lord's chariot and six, perhaps my own by this time, to carry me down. I have ordered it to be in readiness by 4 to morrow morning. The cattle shall smoke for the delay, and by the rest they'll have in the interim will be better able to bear it. I am still resolved upon matrimony, if my fair perverse will accept of me. But if she will not, why then I must give an uninterrupted hearing, not to my conscience, but to these women below. Dorcas had acquainted her lady with Simon's arrival and errand. My beloved had desired to see him, but my coming in prevented his attendance on her, just as Dorcas was instructing him what questions he should not answer to that might be asked of him. I am to be admitted to her presence immediately, at my repeated request. Surely the acquisition in view will help me to make up all with her. She has just gone up to the dining‐room. Nothing will do, Jack. I can procure no favour from her, though she has obtained from me the point which she had set her heart upon. I will give thee a brief account of what passed between us. I first proposed instant marriage, and this in the most fervent manner, but was denied as fervently. Would she be pleased to assure me that she would stay here only till Tuesday morning? I would but just go down to see how my lord was, to know whether he had anything particular to say or enjoin me, while yet he was sensible, as he was very earnest to see me. Perhaps I might be up on Sunday. Concede in something, I beseech you, madam. Show me some little consideration. Why, Mr. Lovelace, must I be determined by your motions? Think you that I will voluntarily give a sanction to the imprisonment of my person? Of what importance to me ought to be your stay or your return? Give a sanction to the imprisonment of your person? Do you think, madam, that I fear the law? I might have spared this foolish question of defiance, but my pride would not let me. I thought she threatened me, Jack. I don't think you fear the law, sir. You are too brave to have any regard either to moral or divine sanctions. 'Tis well, madam. But ask me anything I can do to oblige you, and I will oblige you, although in nothing will you oblige me. Then I ask you, then I request of you, to let me go to Hampstead. I paused, and at last, by my soul you shall, this very moment. I will wait upon you, and see you fixed there, if you'll promise me your hand on Thursday in presence of your uncle. I want not you to see me fixed. I will promise nothing. Take care, madam, that you don't let me see that I can have no reliance upon your future favour. I have been used to be threatened by you, sir, but I will accept of your company to Hampstead. I will be ready to go in a quarter of an hour. My clothes may be sent after me. You know the condition, madam, next Thursday. You dare not trust. My infinite demerits tell me that I ought not. Nevertheless, I will confide in your generosity. To‐morrow morning, no new cause arising to give reason to the contrary, as early as you please, you may go to Hampstead. This seemed to oblige her, but yet she looked with a face of doubt. I will go down to the women, Belford, and having no better judges at hand, will hear what they say upon my critical situation with this proud beauty, who has so insolently rejected a Lovelace, kneeling at her feet, though making an earnest tender of himself for a husband, in spite of all his prejudices to the state of shackles. End of Letter 33. Letter 34 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. A Letter 34. Mr. Lovelace to John Belford, Esquire. Just come from the women. Have I gone so far, and am I afraid to go farther? Have I not already, as is evident by her behaviour, sinned beyond forgiveness? A woman's tears used to be to me but as water sprinkled on a glowing fire, which gives it a fiercer and brighter blaze. What defence has this lady but her tears and her eloquence? She was before taken at no weak advantage. She was insensible in her moments of trial. Had she been sensible, she must have been sensible, so they say. The methods taken with her have augmented her glory and her pride. She has now a tale to tell, that she may tell with honour to herself. No accomplice inclination. She can look me into confusion, without being conscious of so much as a thought which she need to be ashamed of. This, Jack, is the substance of the women's reasonings with me. To which let me add, that the dear creature now sees the necessity I am in to leave her. Detecting me is in her head. My contrivances are of such a nature, that I must appear to be the most odious of men, if I am detected on this side matrimony. And yet I have promised, as thou seest, that she shall set out to Hampstead as soon as she pleases in the morning, and that without condition on her side. Dost thou ask what I meant by this promise? No new cause arising was the proviso on my side, thou'lt remember. But there will be a new cause. Suppose Dorcas should drop the promissory note given her by her lady. Servants, especially those who cannot read or write, are the most careless people in the world of written papers. Suppose I take it up, at a time, too, that I was determined that the dear creature should be her own mistress, will not this detection be a new cause? A cause that will carry with it against her the appearance of ingratitude. That she designed it a secret to me argues a fear of detection, and indirectly a sense of guilt. I wanted a pretence. Can I have a better? If I am in a violent passion upon the detection, is not passion an universally allowed extenuator of violence? Is not every man and woman obliged to excuse that fault in another, which at times they find attended with such ungovernable effects in themselves? The mother and sisterhood, suppose, brought to sit in judgment upon the vile corrupted, the least benefit that must accrue from the accidental discovery, if not a pretence for perpetration, which, however, may be the case, an excuse for renewing my orders for her detention till my return from M. Hall, the fault her own, and for keeping a stricter watch over her than before, with direction to send me any letters that may be written by her or to her. And when I return, the devil's in it, if I find not a way to make her choose lodgings for herself, since these are so hateful to her, that shall answer all my purposes, and yet I no more appear to direct her choice than I did before in these. Thou wilt curse me when thou comest to this place. I know thou wilt. But thinkest thou that after such a series of contrivance I will lose this inimitable woman for want of a little more? A rake's a rake, Jack, and what rake is withheld by principle from the perpetration of any evil his heart is set upon, and in which he thinks he can succeed? Besides, am I not in earnest as to marriage? Will not the generality of the world acquit me if I do marry? And what is that injury which a church rite will not at any time repair? Is not the catastrophe of every story that ends in wedlock accounted happy, be the difficulties in the progress of it ever so great? But here how am I engrossed by this lady, while poor Lord M., as Simon tells me, lies groaning in the most dreadful agonies? What must he suffer? Heaven relieve him! I have a too compassionate heart, and so would the dear creature have found, could I have thought that the worst of her sufferings is equal to the lightest of his. I mean as to fact, for as to that part of hers which arises from extreme sensibility, I know nothing of that, and cannot therefore be answerable for it. End of Letter 34. Letter 35 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. Letter 35. Mr. Lovelace to John Belford, Esquire. Just come from my charmer. She will not suffer me to say half the obliging, the tender things, which my honest heart is ready to overflow with. A confounded situation that, when a man finds himself in humour to be eloquent and pathetic at the same time, yet cannot engage the mistress of his fate to lend an ear to his fine speeches. I can account now how it comes about that lovers, when their mistresses are cruel, run into solitude, and disburthen their minds to stocks and stones. For am I not forced to make my complaints to thee? She claimed the performance of my promise the moment she saw me, of permitting her, haughtily she spoke the word, to go to Hampstead as soon as I was gone to Bucks. Most cheerfully I renewed it. She desired me to give orders in her hearing. I sent for Dorcas and Will. They came. Do you both take notice, but perhaps, sir, I may take you with me, that your lady is to be obeyed in all her commands. She purposes to return to Hampstead as soon as I am gone. My dear, will you not have a servant to attend you? I shall want no servant there. Will you take Dorcas? If I should want Dorcas, I can send for her. Dorcas could not but say, she should be very proud. Well, well, that may be at my return, if your lady permit. Shall I, my dear, call up Mrs. Sinclair, and give her orders to the same effect in your hearing? I desire not to see Mrs. Sinclair, nor any that belong to her. As you please, madam. And then, the servants being withdrawn, I urged her again for the assurance that she would meet me at the altar on Thursday next. But to no purpose. May she not thank herself for all that may follow? One favour, however, I would not be denied, to be admitted to pass the evening with her. All sweetness and obsequiousness will I be on this occasion. My whole soul shall be poured out to move her to forgive me. If she will not, and if the promissory note should fall in my way, my revenge will doubtless take total possession of me. All the house in my interest, and every one in it not only engaging to intimidate and assist, as occasion shall offer, but staking all their experience upon my success, if it be not my own fault, what must be the consequence? This, Jack, however, shall be her last trial. And if she behave as nobly in and after this second attempt, all her senses about her, as she has done after the first, she will come out an angel upon full proof, in spite of man, woman, and devil. Then shall there be an end of all her sufferings. I will then renounce that vanquished devil, and reform. And if any vile machination start up, presuming to mislead me, I will sooner stab it in my heart as it rises, than give way to it. A few hours will now decide all. But whatever be the event, I shall be too busy to write again till I get to M. Hall. Meantime I am in strange agitations. I must suppress them, if possible, before I venture into her presence. My heart bounces my bosom from the table. I will lay down my pen, and wholly resign to its impulses. End of Letter 35. Letter 36 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. Letter 36. Mr. Lovelace to John Belford, Esquire, Friday night, or rather sat morn, 1 o'clock. I thought I should not have had either time or inclination to write another line before I got to M. Hall. But having the first, must find the last, since I can neither sleep nor do anything but write, if I can do that. I am most confoundedly out of humour. The reason let it follow, if it will follow, nor preparation for it from me. I tried by gentleness and love to soften what? Marble. A heart incapable either of love or gentleness, her past injuries for ever in her head, ready to receive a favour, the permission to go to Hampstead, but neither to deserve it nor return any. So my scheme of the gentle kind was soon given over. I then wanted to provoke her, like a coward boy, who waits for the first blow before he can persuade himself to fight. I half challenged her to challenge or defy me. She seemed aware of her danger, and would not directly brave my resentment, but kept such a middle course, that I neither could find a pretence to offend, nor reason to hope. Yet she believed my tale, that her uncle would come to Kentish town, and seemed not to apprehend that Tomlinson was an impostor. She was very uneasy upon the whole in my company, wanted often to break from me, yet so held me to my purpose of permitting her to go to Hampstead, that I knew not how to get off it, though it was impossible in my precarious situation with her to think of performing it. In this situation, the women ready to assist, and if I proceeded not, as ready to ridicule me, what had I left me but to pursue the concerted scheme, and to seek a pretence to quarrel with her, in order to revoke my promised permission, and to convince her that I would not be upbraided as the most brutal of ravishers for nothing? I had agreed with the women that if I could not find a pretence in her presence to begin my operations, the note should lie in my way, and I was to pick it up soon after her retiring from me. But I began to doubt at near 10 o'clock, so earnest was she to leave me, suspecting my over-warm behaviour to her, and eager grasping of her hand 2 or 3 times, with eye-strings, as I felt, on the strain, while her eyes showed uneasiness and apprehension, that if she actually retired for the night, it might be a chance whether it would be easy to come at her again. Loath therefore to run such a risk, I stepped out a little after 10, with intent to alter the preconcerted disposition a little, saying I would attend her again instantly. But as I returned, I met her at the door, intending to withdraw for the night. I could not persuade her to go back, nor had I presence of mind so full of complaisance as I was to her just before, to stay her by force, so she slid through my hands into her own apartment. I had nothing to do, therefore, but to let my former concert take place. I should have promised, but care not for order of time, connection, or anything else, that between 8 and 9 in the evening another servant of Lord M. on horseback came, to desire me to carry down with me Dr. S., the old peer, having been once in extremis, as they judge he is now, relieved and reprieved by him. I sent and engaged the doctor to accompany me down, and am to call upon him by 4 this morning, or the devil should have both my lord and the doctor, if I'd stir till I got all made up. Poke thy damned nose forward into the event, if thou wilt. Curse me, if thou shalt have it till its proper time and place, and too soon then. She had hardly got into her chamber, but I found a little paper, as I was going into mine, which I took up, and opening it, for it was carefully pinned in another paper, what should it be but a promissory note, given as a bribe, with a further promise of a diamond ring, to induce Dorcas to favour her mistress's escape. How my temper changed in a moment! Ring, 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 ring I my bell, with a violence enough to break the string, and as if the house were on fire. Every devil frighted into active life, the whole house in an uproar. Up runs Will. Sir, 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 eyes goggling, mouth distended. Bid the damned toad Dorcas come hither, as I stood at the stair-head, in a horrible rage, and out of breath, cried I. In sight came the trembling devil, but standing aloof from the report made her by Will of the passion I was in, as well as from what she had heard. Flash came out my sword immediately, for I had it ready on. Cursed, confounded, villainous bribery and corruption! Up runs she to her lady's door, screaming out for safety and protection. Good your honour, interposed Will, for God's sake, O Lord, receiving a good cuff, take that, varlet, for saving the ungrateful wretch from my vengeance. Wretch, I intended to say, but if it were some other word of like ending, passion must be my excuse. Up ran 2 or 3 of the sisterhood. What's the matter? What's the matter? The matter! For still my beloved opened not the door. On the contrary, drew another bolt. This abominable Dorcas! Call her aunt up. Let her see what a traitress she has placed about me, and let her bring the toad to answer for herself, has taken a bribe, a provision for life, to betray her trust, by that means to perpetuate a quarrel between a man and his wife, and frustrate for ever all hope of reconciliation between us. Let me perish, Belford, if I have patience to proceed with the farce. If I must resume, I must. Up came the aunt, puffing and blowing. As she hoped for mercy, she was not privy to it. She never knew such a plotting perverse lady in her life. Well might servants be at the pass they were, when such ladies as Mrs. Lovelace made no conscience of corrupting them. For her part, she desired no mercy for the wretch, no niece of hers, if she were not faithful to her trust. But what was the proof? She was shown the paper. But too evident. Cursed, cursed toad, devil, jade, passed from each mouth, and the vileness of the corrupted and the unworthiness of the corruptress were inveighed against. Up we all went, passing the lady's door, into the dining-room, to proceed to trial. Stamp, stamp, stamp up, each on her heels. Rave, 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 every tongue. Bring up the creature before us all this instant. And would she have got out of the house, say you? These the noises and the speeches, as we clattered by the door of the fair bribress. Up was brought Dorcas, whimpering, between 2, both bawling out, You must go, you shall go. 'Tis fit you should answer for yourself. You are a discredit to all worthy servants, as they pulled and pushed her upstairs, she whining, I cannot see his honour, I cannot look so good and so generous a gentleman in the face. O how shall I bear my aunt's raving? Come up and be damned. Bring her forward, her imperial judge. What a plague! It is the detection, not the crime, that compounds you. You could be quiet enough for days together, as I see by the date under the villainy. Tell me, ungrateful devil, tell me who made the first advances. I, disgrace to my family and blood, cried the old one. Tell his honour, tell the truth, who made the first advances. I, cursed creature, cried Sally, who made the first advances. I have betrayed one trust already. O let me not betray another. My lady is a good lady. O let not her suffer. Tell all you know. Tell the whole truth, Dorcas, cried Polly Horton. His honour loves his lady too well to make her suffer much, little as she requites his love. Every body sees that, cried Sally, too well indeed for his honour, I was going to say. Till now I thought she deserved my love, but to bribe a servant thus, who she supposed had orders to watch her steps for fear of another elopement, and to impute that precaution to me as a crime! Yet I must love her. Ladies, forgive my weakness. Curse upon my grimaces, if I have patience to repeat them. But thou shalt have it all. Thou canst not despise me more than I despise myself. But suppose, sir, said Sally, you have my lady and the wench face to face. You see she cares not to confess. O my carelessness, cried Dorcas, don't let my poor lady suffer. Indeed, if you all knew what I know, you would say her ladyship has been cruelly treated. See, 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 repeatedly, every one at once. Only sorry for the detection, as your honour said, not for the fault. Cursed creature and devilish creature, from every mouth. Your lady won't, she dare not come out to save you, cried Sally, though it is more his honour's mercy than your desert, if he does not cut your vile throat this instant. Say, repeated Polly, was it your lady that made the first advances, or was it you, you creature? If the lady had so much honour, bawled the mother, excuse me so, excuse me, sir. Confound the old wretch, she had like to have said son. If the lady has so much honour as we have supposed, she will appear to vindicate a poor servant misled as she has been by such large promises. But I hope, sir, you will do them both justice. I hope you will. Good lack, good lack, clapping her hands together, to grant her everything she could ask, to indulge her in her unworthy hatred to my poor innocent house, to let her go to Hampstead, though your honour told us you could get no condescension from her, no, not the least. O sir, I hope, if your lady will not come out, I hope you will find a way to hear this cause in her presence. I value not my doors on such an occasion as this. Justice I ever loved. I desire you will come to the bottom of it in clearance to me. I'll be sworn I had no privity in this black corruption. Just then we heard the lady's door unbar, unlock, unbolt. Now, sir, now, Mr. Lovelace, now, sir, from every encouraging mouth. But, oh, Jack, 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 I can write no more. If you must have it all, you must. Now, Belford, see us all sitting in judgment, resolved to punish the fair bribress. I and the mother, the hitherto dreaded mother, the nieces Sally, Polly, the traitress Dorcas, and Mabel, a guard, as it were, over Dorcas, that she might not run away and hide herself, all predetermined, and of necessity predetermined, from the journey I was going to take, and my precarious situation with her, and hear her unbolt, unlock, unbar the door, then, as it proved afterwards, put the key into the lock on the outside, lock the door, and put it in her pocket. Will, I knew, below, who would give me notice if, while we were all above, she should mistake her way, and go downstairs, instead of coming into the dining‐room, the street door also doubly secured, and every shutter to the windows round the house fastened, that no noise or screaming should be heard. Such was the brutal preparation. And then hear her step towards us, and instantly see her enter among us, confiding in her own innocence, and with a majesty in her person and manner that is natural to her, but which then shone out in all its glory. Every tongue silent, every eye awed, every heart quaking, mine in a particular manner sunk, throbless, and twice below its usual region, to once at my throat. A shameful recreant. She silent too, looking round her, first on me, then on the mother, no longer fearing her, then on Sally, Polly, and the culprit Dorcas. Such the glorious power of innocence exerted at that awful moment. She would have spoken, but could not, looking down my guilt into confusion. A mouse might have been heard passing over the floor. Her own light feet and rustling silks could not have prevented it, for she seemed to tread air and to be all soul. She passed backwards and forwards, now towards me, now towards the door several times, before speech could get the better of indignation, and at last, after twice or thrice humming to recover her articulate voice, "O thou contemptible and abandoned Lovelace, thinkest thou that I see not through this poor villainous plot of thine, and of these thy wicked accomplices? Thou, woman," looking at the mother, "once my terror, always my dislike, but now my detestation, shouldst once more, for thine perhaps was the preparation, have provided for me intoxicating potions to rob me of my senses. And then thus, wretch," turning to me, "mightest thou more securely have depended upon such a low contrivance as this. And ye, vile women, who perhaps have been the ruined body and soul of hundreds of innocents, you show me how in full assembly. Know that I am not married, ruined as I am by your help. I bless God I am not married to this miscreant. And I have friends that will demand my honour at your hands, and to whose authority I will apply, for none has this man over me, Look to it, then, what farther insults you offer me, or incite him to offer me. I am a person, though thus vilely betrayed, of rank and fortune. I never will be his, and to your utter ruin will find friends to pursue you. And now I have this full proof of your detestable wickedness, and have heard your base incitements, will have no mercy upon you. They could not laugh at the poor figure I made. Lord, how every devil, conscience shaken, trembled! What a dejection must ever fall to the lot of guilt, were it given to innocence always thus to exert itself! And as for thee, thou vile Dorcas, thou double deceiver, whining out thy pretended love for me, begone, wretch! Nobody will hurt thee. Begone, I say. Thou hast too well acted thy part to be blamed by any here but myself. Thou art safe. Thy guilt is thy security in such a house as this. Thy shameful, thy poor part, thou hast as well acted as the low farce could give thee to act, as well as they, each of them, thy superiors, though not thy betters, thou seest, can act theirs. Steal away into darkness. No inquiry after this will be made whose the first advances, thine or mine. And, as I hope to live, the wench, confoundedly frightened, slunk away. So did her sentinel, Mabel, though I, endeavouring to rally, cried out for Dorcas to stay. But I believe the devil could not have stopped her when an angel bid her begone. Madam, said I, let me tell you, and was advancing towards her with a fierce aspect, most cursedly vexed, and ashamed too. But she turned to me. Stop where thou art, O vilest and most abandoned of men! Stop where thou art, nor with that determined face offer to touch me, if thou wouldst not that I should be a corpse at thy feet. To my astonishment, she held forth a penknife in her hand, the point to her own bosom, grasping resolutely the whole handle, so that there was no offering to take it from her. I offer not mischief to any body but myself. You, sir, and ye women, are safe from every violence of mine. The law shall be all my resource, the law. And she spoke the word with emphasis, the law, that to such people carries natural terror with it, and now struck a panic into them. No wonder, since those who will damn themselves to procure ease and plenty in this world will tremble at everything that seems to threaten their methods of obtaining that ease and plenty. The law only shall be my refuge. The infamous mother whispered me that it were better to make terms with this strange lady and let her go. Sally, notwithstanding all her impudent bravery at other times, said if Mr. Lovelace had told them what was not true of her being his wife, and Polly Horton, that she must needs say the lady, if she were not my wife, had been very much injured, that was all. "That is not now a matter to be disputed," cried I. "You and I know, madam." "We do," said she, "and I thank God I am not thine. Once more I thank God for it. I have no doubt of the farther baseness that thou hast intended me by this vile and low trick. But I have my senses, Lovelace, and from my heart I despise thee, thou very poor Lovelace. How canst thou stand in my presence, thou that—" "Madam, madam, madam, these are insults not to be borne," and was approaching her. She withdrew to the door, and set her back against it, holding the pointed knife to her heaving bosom, while the women held me, beseeching me not to provoke the violent lady, for their house sake, and be cursed to them they besought me, and all three hung upon me, while the truly heroic lady braved me at that distance. Approach me, Lovelace, with resentment, if thou wilt. I dare die. It is in defence of my honour. God will be merciful to my poor soul. I expect no more mercy from thee. I have gained this distance, and 2 steps nearer me, and thou shalt see what I dare do. Leave me, women, to myself, and to my angel." They retired at a distance. "O my beloved creature, how you terrify me!" holding out my arms, and kneeling on one knee. "Not a step, not a step farther, except to receive my death at that injured hand, which is thus held up against a life far dearer to me than my own. I am a villain, the blackest of villains. Say you will sheath your knife in the injurer's, not the injured's heart, and then will I indeed approach you, but not else." The mother twanged a damned nose, and Sally and Polly pulled out their handkerchiefs and turned from us. They never in their lives, they told me afterwards, beheld such a scene. Innocence so triumphant, villainy so debased, they must mean. Unawares to myself, I had moved onward to my angel. "And dost thou still disclaiming, still advancing, dost thou still insidiously move towards me?" And her hand was extended. I dare not rashly neither. My heart from principle abhors the act which thou makest necessary. God in thy mercy, lifting up her eyes and hands, God in thy mercy. I threw myself to the farther end of the room, an ejaculation, a silent ejaculation, employing her thoughts that moment. Polly says the whites of her lovely eyes were only visible, and in the instant that she extended her hand assuredly to strike the fatal blow, how the very recital terrifies me, she cast her eye towards me, and saw me at the utmost distance the room would allow, and heard my broken voice. My voice was utterly broken, nor knew I what I said, or whether to the purpose or not, and her charming cheeks, that were all in a glow before, turned pale, as if terrified at her own purpose, and lifting up her eyes, "Thank God, said the angel, delivered for the present delivered from myself. Keep, sir, that distance," looking down towards me, who was prostrate on the floor, my heart pierced as with 100 daggers. That distance has saved a life, to what reserved the Almighty only knows. to be happy, madam, and to make happy, and oh let me hope for your favour for to‐morrow. I will put off my journey till then, and may God—" "Swear not, sir," with an awful and piercing aspect. "You have too often sworn. God's eye is upon us, his more immediate eye," and looked wildly. But the women looked up to the ceiling, as if afraid of God's eye, and trembled, and well they might, and I too, who so very lately had each of us the devil in our hearts. "If not to‐morrow, madam, say but next Thursday, your uncle's birthday, say but next Thursday." "This I say, of this you may assure yourself, I never, never will be yours, and let me hope that I may be entitled to the performance of your promise, to be permitted to leave this innocent house, as one called it, but long have my ears been accustomed to such inversions of words, as soon as the day breaks. Did my perdition depend upon it, that you cannot, madam, but upon terms, and I hope you will not terrify me," still dreading the accursed knife. "Nothing less than an attempt upon my honour shall make me desperate. I have no view but to defend my honour. With such a view only I entered into treaty with your infamous agent below. The resolution you have seen, I trust God will give me again upon the same occasion. But for a less I wish not for it. Only take notice, women, that I am no wife of this man. Basely as he has used me, I am not his wife. He has no authority over me. If he go away by and by, and you act by his authority to detain me, look to it." Then taking one of the lights, she turned from us, and away she went unmolested. Not a soul was able to molest her. Mabell saw her tremblingly, and in a hurry take the key of her chamber door out of her pocket and unlock it, and as soon as she entered, heard her double lock, bar and bolt it. By her taking out her key when she came out of her chamber to us, she no doubt suspected my design, which was to have carried her in my arms thither, if she made such force necessary, after I had intimidated her, and to have been her companion for that night. She was to have had several bedchamber women to assist to undress her upon occasion. But from the moment she entered the dining‐room with so much intrepidity, it was absolutely impossible to think of prosecuting my villainous designs against her. This, Belford, was the hand I made of a contrivance from which I expected so much, and now I am 10 times worse off than before. Thou never sawest people in thy life look so like fools upon one another as the mother, her partners, and I did for a few minutes, and at last the 2 devilish nymphs broke out into insulting ridicule upon me, while the old wretch was concerned for her house, the reputation of her house. I cursed them all together, and retiring to my chamber, locked myself in. And now it is time to set out. All I have gained, detection, disgrace, fresh guilt by repeated perjuries, and to be despised by her I dote upon, and what is still worse to a proud heart, by myself. Success, success in projects is every thing. What an admirable contriver did I think myself till now, even for this scheme among the rest! but how pitifully foolish does it now appear to me! Scratch out, erase, never to be read, every part of my preceding letters where I have boastingly mentioned it, and never presume to rally me upon the cursed subject, for I cannot bear it. But for the lady, by my soul, I love her, I admire her more than ever. I must have her, I will have her still, with honour or without, as I have often vowed. My cursed fright at her accidental bloody nose so lately put her upon improving upon me thus. Had she threatened me, I should have soon been master of one arm, and in both. But for so sincere a virtue to threaten herself, and not to offer to intimidate any other, and with so much presence of mind as to distinguish in the very passionate intention the necessity of the act, defence of her honour, and so fairly to disavow lesser occasions, showed such a deliberation, such a choice, such a principle, and then keeping me so watchfully at a distance, that I could not seize her hand so soon as she could have given the fatal blow. How impossible not to be subdued by so true and so discreet a magnanimity! But she is not gone. She shall not go. I will press her with letters for the Thursday. She shall yet be mine, legally mine, for as to cohabitation, there is no such thing to be thought of. The captain shall give her away as proxy for her uncle. My lord will die. My fortune will help my will, and set me above everything and everybody. But here is the curse. She despises me, Jack. What man, as I have heretofore said, can bear to be despised, especially by his wife? O Lord, what a hand, what a cursed hand, have I made of this plot! And here ends the history of the lady and the penknife. The devil take the penknife! It goes against me to say, God bless the lady. Near 5. Sat morn. End of Letter 36. Letter 37 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. Letter 37. Mr. Lovelace, to Miss Clarissa Harlowe, superscribed to Mrs. Lovelace, M. Hall, Sat. Night, June 24. My dearest life, if you do not impute to love, and to terror raised by love, the poor figure I made before you last night, you will not do me justice. I thought I would try to the very last moment if, by complying with you in everything, I could prevail upon you to promise to be mine on Thursday next, since you refused me an earlier day. Could I have been so happy, you had not been hindered going to Hampstead, or wherever else you pleased. But when I could not prevail upon you to give me this assurance, what room had I, my demerit so great, to suppose that your going thither would not be to lose you for ever? I will own to you, madam, that yesterday afternoon I picked up the paper dropped by Dorcas, who has confessed that she would have assisted you in getting away if she had had opportunity so to do, and undoubtedly dropped it by accident. And could I have prevailed upon you as to Thursday next, I would have made no use of it, secure as I should have been in your word given to be mine. But when I found you inflexible, I was resolved to try if, by resenting Dorcas's treachery, I could not make your pardon of me the condition of mine to her, and if not, to make a handle of it to revoke my consent to your going away from Mrs. Sinclair's, since the consequence of that must have been so fatal to me. So far, indeed, was my proceeding low and artful, and when I was challenged with it, as such, in so high and noble a manner, I could not avoid taking shame to myself upon it. But you must permit me, madam, to hope that you will not punish me too heavily for so poor a contrivance, since no dishonour was meant you, and since in the moment of its execution you had as great an instance of my incapacity to defend a wrong, a low measure, and, at the same time, in your power over me as mortal man could give. In a word, since you must have seen that I was absolutely under the control both of conscience and of love, I will not offer to defend myself for wishing you to remain where you are, till either you give me your word to meet me at the altar on Thursday, or till I have the honour of attending you, preparative to the solemnity which will make that day the happiest of my life. I am but too sensible that this kind of treatment may appear to you with the face of an arbitrary and illegal imposition, but as the consequences, not only to ourselves, but to both our families, may be fatal, if you cannot be moved in my favour, let me beseech you to forgive this act of compulsion, on the score of the necessity you, your dear self, have laid me under to be guilty of it, and to permit the solemnity of next Thursday to include an act of oblivion for all past offences. The orders I have given to the people of the house are, that you shall be obeyed in every particular that is consistent with my expectations of finding you there on my return on Wednesday next; that Mrs. Sinclair and her nieces, having incurred your just displeasure, shall not, without your orders, come into your presence; that neither shall Dorcas, till she has fully cleared her conduct to your satisfaction, be permitted to attend you; but Mabell in her place, of whom you seemed some time ago to express some liking, Will I have left behind me to attend your commands. If he be either negligent or impertinent, your dismission shall be a dismission of him from my service for ever. But as to letters which may be sent to you, or any which you may have to send, I must humbly entreat that none such pass from or to you for the few days that I shall be absent. But I do assure you, madam, that the seals of both sorts shall be sacred, and the letters, if such be sent, shall be given into your own hands the moment the ceremony is performed, or before it, if you require it. Meantime, I will inquire, and send you word, how Miss Howe does, and to what, if I can be informed, her long silence is owing. Dr. Perkins I found here, attending my lord, when I arrived with Dr. S. He acquaints me that your father, mother, uncles, and the still less worthy persons of your family, are well, and intend to be all at your uncle Harlowe's next week, I presume with intent to keep his anniversary. This can make no alteration, but a happy one, as to persons on Thursday, because Mr. Tomlinson assured me that if anything fell out to hinder your uncle's coming up in person, which, however, he did not then expect, he would be satisfied if his friend the captain were proxy for him. I shall send a man and horse to‐morrow to the captain, to be at greater certainty. I send this by a special messenger, who will wait your pleasure in relation to the impatiently wished‐for Thursday, which I humbly hope will be signified by a line. My lord, though hardly sensible, and unmindful of every thing but of your felicity, desires his most affectionate compliments to you. He has in readiness to present to you a very valuable set of jewels, which he hopes will be acceptable, whether he lives to see you adorn them or not. Lady Sarah and Lady Betty have also their tokens of respect ready to court your acceptance. But may Heaven incline you to give the opportunity of receiving their personal compliments, and those of my cousins Montague, before the next week be out. His lordship is exceeding ill. Dr. S. has no hopes of him. The only consolation I can have for the death of a relation who loves me so well, if he do die, must arise from the additional power it will put into my hands of showing how much I am, my dearest life, your ever affectionate, faithful Lovelace. End of Letter 37. Letter 38. Mr. Lovelace to Miss Clarissa Harlowe, superscribed to Mrs. Lovelace. M. Hall, Sunday night, June 25th. My dearest love, I cannot find words to express how much I am mortified at the return of my messenger without a line from you. Thursday is so near that I will send messenger after messenger every 4 hours till I have a favourable answer, the one to meet the other till its eve arrives, to know if I may venture to appear in your presence with the hope of having my wishes answered on that day. Your love, madam, I neither expect nor ask for, nor will, till my future behaviour gives you cause to think I deserve it. All I at present presume to wish is, to have it in my power to do you all the justice I can now do you, and to your generosity will I leave it, to reward me as I shall merit, with your affection. At present, revolving my poor behaviour of Friday night before you, I think I should sooner choose to go to my last audit, unprepared for it as I am, than to appear in your presence, unless you give me some hope that I shall be received as your elected husband, rather than, however deserved, as a detested criminal. Let me therefore propose an expedient, in order to spare my own confusion, and to spare you the necessity for that soul harrowing recrimination which I cannot stand, and which must be disagreeable to yourself, to name the church, and I will have everything in readiness, so that our next interview will be, in a manner, at the very altar, and then you will have the kind husband to forgive for the faults of the ungrateful lover. If your resentment be still too high to write more, let it only be in your own dear hand these words, St. Martin's Church, Thursday, or these, St. Giles's Church, Thursday, nor will I insist upon any inscription or subscription, or so much as the initials of your name. This shall be all the favour I will expect, till the dear hand itself is given to mine, in presence of that being whom I invoke as a witness of the inviolable faith and honour of your adoring Lovelace. End of Letter 38. Letter 39 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. Letter 39. Mr. Lovelace to Miss Clarissa Harlowe. Superscribed to Mrs. Lovelace. M. Hall, Monday, June 26. Once more, my dearest love, do I conjure you to send me the 4 requested words. There is no time to be lost, and I would not have next Thursday go over without being entitled to call you mine for the world, and that as well for your sake as for my own. Hitherto all that has passed is between you and me only, but after Thursday, if my wishes are unanswered, the whole will be before the world. My lord is extremely ill, and endures not to have me out of his sight for 1/2 hour. But this shall not have the least weight with me, if you be pleased to hold out the olive branch to me in the 4 requested words. I have the following intelligence from Captain Tomlinson. All your family are at your uncle Harlowe's. Your uncle finds he cannot go up, and names Captain Tomlinson for his proxy. He proposes to keep all your family with him till the captain assures him that the ceremony is over. Already he has begun with hope of success to try to reconcile your mother to you. My Lord M. but just now has told me how happy he should think himself to have an opportunity before he dies to salute you as his niece. I have put him in hopes that he shall see you, and have told him that I will go to town on Wednesday, in order to prevail upon you to accompany me down on Thursday or Friday. I have ordered a set to be in readiness to carry me up, and were not my lord so very ill, my cousin Montague tells me that she would offer her attendance on you. If you please, therefore, we can set out for this place the moment the solemnity is performed. Do not, dearest creature, dissipate all those promising appearances, and by refusing to save your own and your family's reputation in the eye of the world, use yourself worse than the ungratefullest wretch on earth has used you. For if we were married, all the disgrace you imagine you have suffered while a single lady will be my own, and only known to ourselves. Once more, then, consider well the situation we are both in, and remember, my dearest life, that Thursday will be soon here, and that you have no time to lose. In a letter sent by the messenger whom I dispatch with this, I have desired that my friend Mr. Belford, who is your very great admirer, and who knows all the secrets of my heart, will wait upon you, to know what I am to depend upon as to the chosen day. Surely, my dear, you never could at any time suffer half so much from cruel suspense as I do. If I have not an answer to this, either from your own goodness or through Mr. Belford's intercession, it will be too late for me to set out, and Captain Tomlinson will be disappointed, who goes to town on purpose to attend your pleasure. One motive for the gentle resistance I have presumed to lay you under is, to prevent the mischiefs that might ensue, as probably to the more innocent as to the less, were you to write to anybody, while your passions were so much raised and inflamed against me. Having apprized you of my direction to the women in town on this head, I wonder you should have endeavoured to send a letter to Miss Howe, although in a cover directed to that young lady's servant, as you must think it would be likely to fall into my hands. The lady had made an attempt to send away a letter. The just sense of what I have deserved the contents should be, leaves me no room to doubt what they are. Nevertheless, I return it you enclosed, with the seal, as you will see, unbroken. Relieve, I beseech you, dearest madam, by the fore-requested words, or by Mr. Belford, the anxiety of your ever affectionate and obliged Lovelace. Remember, there cannot be time for further writing, and for coming up by Thursday, your uncle's birthday. End of Letter 39. Letter 40 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. Letter 40. Mr. Lovelace, to John Belford, Esquire, Monday, June 26. Thou wilt see the situation I am in with Miss Harlowe, by the enclosed copies of 3 letters, to 2 of which I am so much scorned as not to have 1 word given me in answer, and of the 3rd, now sent by the messenger who brings thee this, I am afraid as little notice will be taken, and if so, her day of grace is absolutely over. One would imagine, so long used to constraint too as she has been, that she might have been satisfied with the triumph she had over us all on Friday night, a triumph that to this hour has sunk my pride and my vanity so much, that I almost hate the words plot, contrivance, scheme, and shall mistrust myself in future for every one that rises to my inventive head. But seest thou not that I am under a necessity to continue her at Sinclair's, and to prohibit all her correspondences, now, Belford, as I really, in my present mood, think of nothing less than marrying her, if she let not Thursday slip, I would have thee attend her, in pursuance of the intimation I have given her in my letter of this date; and vow for me, swear for me, bind thy soul to her for my honour, and use what arguments thy friendly heart can suggest, in order to procure me an answer from her, which, as thou wilt see, she may give in 4 words only. And then I purpose to leave Lord M. dangerously ill as he is, and meet her at her appointed church, in order to solemnize. If she will but sign Clarissa Harlowe to thy writing the 4 words, that shall do, for I would not come up to be made a fool of in the face of all my family and friends. If she should let the day go off, I shall be desperate. I am entangled in my own devices, and cannot bear that she should detect me. O that I had been honest! What a devil are all my plots come to! What do they end in but one grand plot upon myself, and a title to eternal infamy and disgrace? But, depending on thy friendly offices, I will say no more of this. Let her send me but one line, but one line. To treat me as unworthy of her notice, yet be altogether in my power, I cannot, I will not bear that. My lord, as I said, is extremely ill. The doctors give him over. He gives himself over. Those who would not have him die are afraid he will die. But as to myself, I am doubtful. For these long and violent struggles between the constitution and the disease, though the latter has 3 physicians and an apothecary to help it forward, and all 3, as to their prescriptions, of different opinions too, indicate a plaguy habit, and savour more of recovery than death; and the more so, as he has no sharp or acute mental organs to whet out his bodily ones, and to raise his fever above the sympathetic helpful one. Thou wilt see in the enclosed what pains I am at to dispatch messengers, who are constantly on the road to meet each other, and one of them to link in the chain with the 4th, whose station is in London, and 5 miles onwards, or till met. But in truth I have some other matters for them to perform at the same time with my lord's banker and his lawyer, which will enable me, if his lordship is so good as to die this bout, to be an overmatch for some of my other relations. I don't mean Charlotte and Patty, for they are noble girls, but others who have been scratching and clawing under ground like so many moles in my absence, and whose workings I have discovered since I have been down, by the little heaps of dirt they have thrown up. A speedy account of thy commission, dear Jack. The letter travels all night. LETTER XL.
Letter 41 of Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by John Burlinson. Clarissa Harlowe, Volume 6, by Samuel Richardson. Letter 41. Mr. Belford to Robert Lovelace, Esquire, London, June 27th, Tuesday. You must excuse me, Lovelace, from engaging in the office you would have me undertake, till I can be better assured you really intend honourably at last by this much injured lady. I believe you know your friend Belford too well to think he would be easy with you, or with any man alive, who should seek to make him promise for him what he never intended to perform. And let me tell thee, that I have not much confidence in the honour of a man, who by imitation of hands, I will only call it, has shown so little regard to the honour of his own relations. Only that thou hast such Jesuitical qualifyings, or I should think thee at last touched with remorse, and brought within view of being ashamed of thy cursed inventions by the ill success of thy last, which I heartily congratulate thee upon. O the divine lady! But I will not aggravate. Nevertheless, when thou writest that in thy present mood thou think'st of marrying, and yet canst so easily change thy mood, when I know thy heart is against the state, that the 4 words thou courtest from the lady are as much to thy purpose as if she wrote 50, since it will show she can forgive the highest injury that can be offered to a woman, and when I recollect how easily thou canst find excuses to postpone, thou must be more explicit a good deal as to thy real intentions and future honour than thou art. For I cannot trust to temporary remorse, which brought on by disappointment too, and not by principle, and the like of which thou hast so often got over. If thou canst convince me time enough for the day that thou mean'st to do honourably by her, in her own sense of the word, or, if not time enough, wilt fix some other day, which thou oughtest to leave to her option, and not bind her down for the Thursday, and the rather as thy pretence for doing so is founded on an absolute fiction, I will then most cheerfully undertake thy cause by person, if she will admit me to her presence, if she will not, by pen. But in this case thou must allow me to be guarantee for thy family, and if so much as I value thee, and respect thy skill in all the qualifications of a gentleman, thou mayst depend upon it that I will act up to the character of a guarantee, with more honour than the princes of our day usually do, to their shame be it spoken. Meantime let me tell thee that my heart bleeds for the wrong this angelic lady has received, and if thou dost not marry her if she will have thee, and, when married, make her the best and tenderest of husbands, I would rather be a dog, a monkey, a bear, a viper, or a toad, than thee. Command me with honour, and thou shalt find none readier to oblige thee than thy sincere friend John Belford. End of Letter 41.